Hey guys, Timmy D with DroneMappingTools.com, and in today's video I'm going to walk you through and show you how to process your DJI L2 Lidar data using Lidar360. So we're going to walk through, I'm going to show you how to do strip alignment, we're going to get rid of overlapping points, clean up outliers, and classify the ground points and make it as good as it can be. I'm actually out here in Berkeley, California for the annual meeting at Green Valley, or with Green Valley here at the DoubleTree in the Bay Area. And so we're going to go over all the new products today and spend time in the software. So I look forward to bringing some tutorials and upcoming product releases to you in the near future. All right, so Vincent in Hawaii had a question on processing the DJI L2 data in Lidar360. So we're going to run through that. Now this has already been processed in Terra, so I'm going to go ahead and open up Lidar360. And let me go back to the folder. Alright, so we'll go to the LAS folder right here. Here are two different folders that were produced by Terra, so I'm going to drag these in right here. And look, you can always look. Now, it won't, because of the way the header is, you can't, sometimes it won't pull it in and tell Lidar360 what it is, but we can look down here, and here's the EPSG code right there, that's 6628. So I'm going to go to transformations, and we want to tell it what it is. So part of getting all this stuff done right is setting your projection. And so I'm going to go to select, and I'm just going to do filter. I'm going to do a search for that, and here it is. This is 983.11 Hawaii Zone 1. And then vertical, we're just going to leave it in ellipsoid height. Now if he had ground control points and they were all in, well, if everything was done in geoid height, then we can pick that, but I'm just going to leave it in ellipsoid height, okay? So I'm going to do OK, and then here do apply all, because we have two different files and we would have to do it again. So just do apply all and it'll cover both of them. And so it'll bring in one, and then it'll come in and bring in the second one. Alright, so here's, let's see. Yep, there's the two halves right there. Now, what we're going to do is you come up here and you will click on pre-processing. Alright, then you click on bore site. And then after you click on bore site, you see these new menus here. And by the way, this is Lidar360 version 7. So I've got an old video that did version 5. This is processing L2 data in version 7. Wonderful, wonderful software. And if you need to purchase this, just visit DroneMappingTools.com, and you can purchase the Lidar360 plus the terrain module. You're going to see how good it is. Alright, so we're going to open the trajectory, and select that. It's going to say, hey, select your workspace. So what I will do is I'm in the Lidars folder. I'm just going to say new folder, and I'm going to call it Lidar360, because this is where Lidar360 will save all of the files that it creates during this process. I'm going to do select folder. Now it's saying, hey, where are your trajectory files? And I'm going to go back to Lidar, and you must change, just go down here to file type. You must use the SBET file, so click that. And it's not this one, but it's the first one right here that you see, just the plain L_SBET.out. I'm going to hit open, okay? Now, this is very, very important. You must click on convert GPS time, and we're going to convert it from GPS week to adjusted standard time. But the very important part is that you must select the date that you flew the mission, because if you do not, the timestamps will not match, and you cannot break up your point cloud to match your trajectories and get rid of overlap and all that kind of good stuff. So we're going to do select dates. This mission was flown on April the 2nd, so I'm going to do OK. The next thing you must do is we're going to go to coordinate, And I'm just going to do Control V again, and it's going to be the same Hawaii Zone 1. And there's only one file, but I always just click on Apply All, okay? Now, we have our trajectory in here where everything was flown. Now this one here, so anyway, this one coming across, we're going to get rid of that. And then this little funny dude right here, I'm not sure that, let's see. All right, this was part of the calibration process, but we're going to actually just kind of get rid of this. I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. Now this one didn't come, for whatever reason, it didn't come all the way down. I don't know why, but that's okay. So let's go back up like so, kind of getting a nadir view. So what we're going to do is, for a deal like this, the easiest way to do it is to draw a polygon. Now you have two ways of selecting these trajectories. What we want to do is we're going to cut the ends off of all of them so that we're only left with parallel trajectories. You can do select on trajectory right up here, choose that, and then I could just click on it and then move my mouse down all the way kind of almost to the end and click again, right? I could do that, and I could just come back and forth, back and forth. When you have quite a few trajectories, it's easier just to draw a polygon box. So I'm going to hit escape. Now we're going to draw a polygon, and give me 1 second. I'm going to move this up. I'm going to delete that. Okay. So now we're going to draw a polygon instead. So I'm going to actually kind of start, and again, I'm going to start about right here, but what we're doing is we're cutting these ends off, okay? So I'm going to go 1, come across, and you don't have to do, I mean, you can come here to cut this one, then come up a little, come across that one. We're going to keep this angled. This can kind of be helpful, so there's no need in getting rid of that, but we are going to cut off the very end where that drone makes a hard turn. Okay, and come here like so, and again, all of this very hard. We got to get rid of that. So I'm going to come down and then come across like so, and then come down again. We're going to get right here, okay, and then I'm going to hold my middle mouse button so I can pan and move it up, and we're going to come right here. Now, remember all that back and forth right there? We want to slice across this, and you'll see if you don't, this would stay inside this box, and you'd have all that back and forth, and we don't want that. We just want a nice single line. So I'm going to come across right here, click, then I'm going to come up, I'm going to go right up above the line, the end point, click, I'm going to go across, and we're going to leave this little piece right here outside the polygon so it's not used. And then I'm going to come right here, come across, and hold my middle mouse button so I can pull it down. And then when you're done, you double click. Okay? So we're done there. Now we come back up here and we say select by polygon. Now, you see it now made all these individual trajectory lines down here. So what we're going to do is we want to turn off all these little ones, and so that we're only left with our main flight lines, and then we will delete once we turn them off and confirm that they are the ones we don't need. Then we will delete them. So this this blue right here, let's see. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Before you do that, you must say split trajectory. I was about to forget that. So you're going to say split trajectory. All right. Now, you see all the green that was coming across here? Let me click on this green. See that right there? That got rid of that whole entire green trajectory because it made individual trajectories. Now we're going to turn off, we got this orange one. Let's see, is it? No, not that one. Let's see, is it this one? Yep, there's that. And then, see, we got this, we got yellow, royal. They're going to be right here together. There's yellow, royal. We got red. Oops, wrong one. Keep yellow, turn off red. Oh my goodness. Okay, we want the white. We don't want yellow. How about that? Okay. Now we got it. And if you're looking or trying to determine, oh, here's a one down here. This purple. So I'm going to turn off the purple. And voila. And you can come up here and turn off your point clouds. That'll let you see it even easier. But then once you confirm you've got everything like you want it, then we're going to turn those point clouds back on. And now for these that we unchecked and we've confirmed we don't need them, I'm going to click the first one, hold shift, click that one, and I'm going to right mouse click and say delete. Same thing for these last two, shift and hold the second one, and then we'll right mouse click, choose delete. And now we got rid of the ones we did not need. Okay. So now we are ready to cut the point cloud based on the trajectories. So what it's going to do is it's going to take this entire point cloud and slice it up so that only you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I guess it's 11 individual point clouds that will match the trajectory they went with. And so if you do this and it never matches, that means you got the date wrong, because the date has to be precise so that the date code in the trajectory matches the date code in your point clouds. They can be geographically together and look correct on the screen, but it's matching it by GPS time, and that's why that is so vital back in the previous step. So we're going to say cut point cloud based on trajectories, and I'm just going to do OK. And you'll see down at the bottom, oops, you'll see the progress bar go across. Generally speaking, it does not take a very long time, and so the progress bar will move across. And then after it's done, we're going to go back up and we're going to say match point cloud and trajectory. So it's cutting them, but they haven't been paired up. Oh, always when it says add data to current project, always say yes. And now what we're going to do, I'm going to move this out just a little. We want to turn off the original two. So you can see this block 0, block 1. We no longer want to use those. So we are now only, see, watch this. Well, there's a way, almost too much overlap in this. And we're going to get rid of that overlap. But all these points, we can now turn all these off individually if we wanted to. But we need to leave them. So the only thing you do is you turn off these original two right here. Then we're going to come up and say match point cloud and trajectory. So I click on that. These will now all turn the same color. So tan will match tan, maroon will match maroon. And one thing I didn't do early on, I always turn on EDL. EDL will, eye dome lighting is what that stands for. And it just makes it easy to see definition. So let's just go ahead and drag across and we're going to see how this looks. So this very bottom icon is the profile icon. So I'm going to click on that. And then I will always put a checkbox in the buffer and leave it at 10 centimeters or 0.1 meters. Now, I like to always come across a road, a building, anywhere where there's a very nice flat surface, because that's where you can see how well your strip alignment is. So anyway, let's just come across here. Now up here, so we have a lot of trees. So you can see this, we have a very large ravine, and then right here's flat. So I'm going to come in. I mean, honestly, this is a very good, very well mixed. I mean, you want to see all your different color points together. That shows you right there, everything is lined up very nicely. And so I'm going to measure Let's go from the bottom right up to the top. I mean, it's only 6 centimeters. Honestly, that's not bad at all. I mean, that's where it's 6 centimeters for your quote fuzz, which is, I mean, that's very good. And then let's go back on the other side. So I'm pushing my middle mouse button down and holding it, and then I can pan, and I'll scroll out and then pan across. And again, we're going to come in and look at this on some very flat, what appears to be pretty flat terrain. So let's measure this. I'm going to come here, 4 centimeters. So man, again, this is it looks good. There's nothing wrong with that. So there's no need to do a strip alignment. But what we did want to do, we have these in strips. Now we can go in and get rid of excess Lidar points. If you have just a massive amounts, and there could be times when you really want to keep the data. Maybe, I don't know, there's going to be different situations where maybe you want to keep it, but I'm going to show you how to get rid of it if you wanted to thin it down and get rid of the overlapping points, because there is a ton of overlap in here. You just end up having a very overly dense point cloud. So anyway, so what we're going to do, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do cut overlap. Now, if I looked at that and I could see that we had some strip alignment issues, this is where we would go in. I'd click on calibration, I'd do calculate, and then after it calculates it, you would apply it to the loaded point cloud. Then after you do it to the loaded point cloud, you can check it again, make sure it looks good, and then you drop this and you say selected point clouds and apply, and that's what makes it permanent. So if you had a strip alignment issue, this is where you can just come in, and I would say 95 times out of 100 you're going to get excellent results just using the default calculate and then applying it to your point cloud. But this is already very well aligned. So I'm going to come up here, I'm going to say cut overlap. And you can see here we have a checkbox and never classified because these are all brand new points. So I'm going to do OK. And see here you have an option between classify and delete. I will always do the classify first. So I'm going to say OK. And that way you can just look and see, well, how much overlap do you have in your point cloud? Sometimes it's just relatively small, very small, thin strips between your flight lines that is considered overlapping points. Other times you have a tremendous amount of overlap, but I can already see here, this is, man, you just got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got 5 flight lines all matched up. It probably didn't need to be flown with this much overlap. I mean, it's depending on your terrain and vegetation, you might need higher overlap, but this was probably overkill, and you could have achieved a good point cloud with a much lower overlap setting in the DJI Pilot 2. So, alright, so the cut overlap has been finished. So now let's actually go over here and we're going to display by classification. And so, wow, look at that. Okay, so here, there's your non-overlapping points. I'm going to turn this off, turn off the white. This is what it considers overlapping points. In other words, they're not really adding to the point cloud. So these are just extra points that are unneeded. That's a lot. That's a lot of points. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'll leave them both selected, and then we're going to go back to cut overlap. And this time, instead of classify, I'm going to choose delete. I'm going to hit OK. It will now delete all of those points that we saw in the yellow that are considered overlapping. Now, if you, once they're classified as overlapping, you can leave them and then just simply turn off class 12. So if for some reason you wanted to keep them and you're like, oh my goodness, well what if I want to use them? You can just turn off class 12, but look here, it's also going to add this in as new files. So remember, we always say add data to current project. And then after we do that, I wish Lidar360 would make it to when you add data in, it automatically unchecks everything that was checked. I wish that was an option. So every time you got to go down the list, boop, 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 because we no longer want to work with these. Now, these are still, see it says LiData. Lidar360 always creates files that, that are in the LiData format, and that's what you're working with. And even if I were to remove these from this page, they're still in the Lidar360 folder. Once they're created, you can always bring them back in, even if I were to remove them. All right, so but tell you what we want to do is I want to come up here and do save. And let's see, we're in the Lidar360. There's that folder. I'm going to hit save. Boom. Okay, so we're done there. We have no overlapping. See, now when I turn that off, even with this one turned on, and my screen resolution does some funky little stuff with these boxes, makes them a little hard to see, but they're there. So now all we have are non-overlapping unclassified points. So the next step I want to do is I'm going to go into the terrain module. So I'm going to click on terrain, and I want to come in here, I'm going to remove outliers. So birds that are flying around in the air, I mean, that's the #1 source of outliers. And so I'm going to hit OK. Oh, there are many other sources, but they're one of them. You know what I should have done? I should have merged. So before I do this, what I normally do is go up to Tools, and then come over to other tool, whatever it's called. We'll see it. I forgot. It's other something. And I will merge the files because it keeps adding these in groups of however how many there are, 11. So we're going to do that now. Turn that one off. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Tools, and then you come all the way over here, Other Point Cloud Tools, and I'm going to say Merge. And then it will automatically always have all the correct files selected. You never have to change this. Whatever is selected here will automatically be selected in this box. So I'm going to say OK, and it will now merge this file back into one file. And you like to do that once you're through with working in strips and checking alignment and getting rid of overlapping points, unless you had some special need to want to segregate. Maybe you wanted to have two halves and you're going to process them slightly different. Well, then you could actually merge this half together and then this half together if you were going to do different processing because the terrain was different. That would be a situation. So we're going to add this. Alright, so after we added it, then again, now that we have just this one, I'm going to actually turn them all off and turn just that one back on. And we're going to do, let's do File, Save As, and notice here it'll actually add it like an extra Lidar360. If you just keep doing untitled, it'll just keep making it longer and longer, which is basically how this is like revision number 2. So I'm going to do that so that I have the first one, and every so often you could do that, and then you have a kind of a saving point that you could go back and start back at a certain point. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just get rid of all these, because again you're deleting them from or removing them from the screen, but they're still in the Lidar360 folder. So boom, those are removed. Now, let's just go back and we can look at this by RGB. So again, that's a pretty good size ravine. You can see here's the roadway coming along the ridge right there. So we got rid of outliers. At this point, what I want to do is I'm going to go back to terrain and let's classify ground points. And there are really no buildings in here, so I'm going to leave here. There's a car right there. I'm just going to leave this at 5. Now, if we had big buildings, you would want to put the size of the roof in meters right here. And Lidar360 will classify these points very quickly. All right, now let's take a look. Let's go back from RGB to classification. I only want to see ground. So there we go. There's all of our ground points. So it actually did pretty good hitting ground on this bank. Now, there may be some vegetation in there if it's rock. I did not do this, so I just don't know what is the terrain up and down through here. But now, instead of creating contours based on ground points, in some cases, like especially when you have a ravine like this, and I've got a few gaps in here, I really like to use Global Mapper Pro. So ground point classification, there is no better than Lidar360. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to export this out. So we're going to export. We're going to do so under LiDARs. Now I'm going to create a folder called Global Mapper. And we're going to do save. And I'm just going to leave it in the same projection it was in. Again, if you were doing ground control points and delivering to a surveyor, you may have need to want to do something else. I'm going to do File Save As. Again, it added one more. I'm going to hit Save. And I'm going to close this. Okay. Be sure you want to yes. Alright. And LiDARs, Global Mapper. Here is this one right here. This is what we're going to bring into Global Mapper. So I'm going to bring this up. And I want to drag merge. I'm going to hit OK. I'm just bringing in all points. I could have turned off and only brought in ground points. So we are in the intensity view. So let's go back to RGB. So there we are in RGB mode. Now you will notice that Lidar360, you could have 2D and 3D. You're always in 3D view unless you bring in a raster image. Then it will be 2D only. It will not let you view in 3D if you import a raster image. For Global Mapper, you always have to click on the 3D icon and it'll open up a new window so that you can view the point cloud data in 360, okay? Or I should say in 3D view. Let's close this. So now what I want to do is let's view by classification, and I'm going to unselect all except for ground, hit apply. Alright, and let's go back to 3D. Again, that's kind of giving us a feel for the point clouds right there, okay? Ground points. Now what I'm going to do is I want to create a surface map. So I'm going to come up here, and this right here, they call it an elevation grid. So I'm going to say create an elevation grid. Vertical units are actually in, I think they're in feet. Yeah, this is Ned. I'm just pretty sure this was in feet, okay? So now I want to do filter LiDAR points. I only want to do this based on ground. If you do everything, it'll be like a DSM, and what we want is a DEM, or some people call it a DTM. So I'm going to hit OK, and we'll hit OK. And now it's going to create a surface model, and that will be much better for generating contours. In a lot of cases, I just generate contours straight off the ground points. So just your points from in the point cloud. But in cases, especially where there's ravines and you have some skips in the data, you will get better contours by generating a surface model and then generate your contours based on the surface model. I mean, you still have to have checkpoints, and you still have to go and literally check those things very closely, make sure it's accurate and the data is good. But in general, those are the situations where doing contours on a surface model is a little more beneficial. So this is just about done. All right, let's open up 3D. You know what? I need to turn off. All right, turning off the points. Now we're only going to be looking at the surface model. And there we go. So very nicely done. Again, I don't know, that appears this is just kind of a, I don't know if we have some rock and still some of the vegetation is being captured there. I mean, if it was very, very thick, it might be hard for anything to penetrate it, but this is still giving you a very good overview of the ravine. And obviously the creek, river, I guess it looks like you'd actually consider that a river. So, all right, well, I hope this was very helpful. This is how you take LiDAR data off the DJI L2, bring it into Lidar360, do your strip alignment, get rid of all the overlapping points, and then I then actually like to come into Global Mapper, and that's where I will finish everything up. But there are no doubt many other avenues that you can go. You've got Carlson software, a lot of people like that. StoneX has software. Trimble Business Center. There are a plethora of other programs that you can use to do your final leg of classification, contours, DSM, and all that good stuff. Well, if this was helpful, give me a thumbs up, and we'll have another video out.